title of this topic is Misdirected Love, and this is actually why it is considered human values. We'll discuss, because what is the importance of human values. Actually, the human being, which actually they're very special, as we discussed earlier also in last lecture. But what is the most important quality in human being is this, that is the love, right? So that means the human beings can actually express their love most we can say very strong manner other than the other animals, because whenever any relative of ours they die or we miss somebody, right, we express our grief, right? So that shows that how much we love others. But actually, what is love? We must first understand. And is our love in proper direction or not? Because this is one of the important qualities of human, or one of the important values in the human being, right? So let me quickly go through this. Within half an hour we'll finish this, and then we'll have a valedictory program, right? So actually, what is love? We must understand. Then love promises to bring the highest happiness, but often it brings the greatest pain, right? We know it gives us pain most of the time, right? What we think it is love, if it is actually love, it should not give pain to us, but it gives always pain, right? And most of the time we say that the husband and wife, they remain always in love, but actually we know the statistics, many marriages actually they end in divorce, right? So why it happens? If the love is proper, then why it is happening, right? That is the important question, you can say, right? So actually love is our existence. Without love, it's difficult to remain or to alive or live, right? It's very difficult. Without love, sometimes we become frustrated also, right? So from love comes compassion, and from compassion we care each other, right? So that is the existence of love. So it is our eternal characteristic. This characteristic, the loving anybody or anybody else. We have seen many people, they keep also pets, right? So if nobody is there, they actually express their love towards the pets, pet dogs or pet cats, right? So it is always directed and reciprocated. Love is that it should be directed and it should be reciprocated. It is not that we love ourselves. That is not love. We cannot love ourselves and we say we'll remain happy now. And those people actually most of the time they become most frustrated people, because love only is always directed and it should be reciprocated among the fellow persons, right? We should reciprocate with each other. Is our love directed in right direction? That is a big question mark. Eh? If it is directed in right direction, then why we are frustrated? We become frustrated most of the time, right? The so-called love we see or we feel, that is very temporary. It's not actually permanent, right? So why it happens so? Because a non-living entity cannot direct and reciprocate love. It's 100% true. Why? Because a table cannot express or cannot direct or reciprocate love with another table, or a stone cannot, because they are non-living entities, right? But at the same time, if some living entity will direct or reciprocates its love to a non-living entity, like the vehicle. I will say I love my vehicle, car very much, right? Sometime it happens because the costliest car we purchase, right? And we are very much attached to it. But sometime it actually leads to chaos, right? There is a story I heard, I think, long back. It's not a story, it's maybe a real fact. One person actually purchased a Mercedes Benz, very costly car. In India, it's mostly very costly and it is a status, right? So one day he has a small kid and he took his kid and went for washing the car. And when he was washing the car, his kid, small kid, maybe 2, 3 or 5 year old, so he got a stone on the road, and on that stone he was writing something on the car. And suddenly the father, the person actually saw what he is doing. Nonsense, actually my new car, he is scratching. So he became so angry. Suddenly he came and with a anger mood, he held back his fingers and started hammering with the stone, with the same stone. And after some, he crying. His baby was crying, but fortunately his mother was there, and she came back and she protected the baby. And then after some time, when his anger is cooled, they both took to the hospital the child, and finally it was a unfortunate incident that his son's fingers has to cut because his finger was completely damaged, because he was just very small child, and he had already hammered his fingers, and he's thinking about that person started crying, what I did, very big mistake I did, my son's finger he is about to lost for a simple car, right? He started contemplating on this, and he was crying a lot, and he thought that what my son was writing on the car, let me see. And he went to that car and he found that his son has written in a big letter, she has written, I love my dad. I love my dad. And by seeing this, the person became very, very unhappy, and he became very much, he was thinking what I did with my son. He was loving so much to me. And actually this leads, when we love matter, that happens sometime, it leads to frustration, right? So therefore the love can be reciprocated and directed in between the living entities or the spirit souls, not between the dead matter and a person. We cannot love a car. That's very temporary. When we purchase some new devices, a new iPhone, new we call so-called cars, we keep it very nicely and we think no scratch should be there, but automatically it will come because they did dead matter, it has to go someday. So we should not be very much attached. So therefore, so what is the substance behind this? What is real love actually, right? We must understand. First let us see love versus lust. What is love and what is lust? The so-called lust, actually we misunderstand it as love, right? So we'll see the difference. Love is eternally existing and it is directed to the absolute truth, okay? And the reciprocation is absolute. It should not be temporary. It is always absolute. Then only we get the permanent love. And it gives pleasure to the absolute truth. That is love. And it causes absolute happiness. Absolute happiness, we must understand, the happiness which cannot be destroyed at all. It should remain all the time, always, right? And if we'll see love versus lust, lust is temporary, the so-called love we express to our family members, or to our so-called love to our lover, to our wife, it's all temporary. It vanishes after some time, right? So therefore, why it vanishes temporary? Because we doesn't love actually the soul. We love the dead matter, the body, right? We don't love, that is actually, we express our lust to the body, right? So therefore, as the body vanishes gradually, we also started becoming frustrated, and there is no love, and therefore the divorce also happens, right? So this is all temporary. This lust is temporary. This is directed to relative truth, right? And the reciprocation is also relative. It gives pleasure to our senses and mind, right? It doesn't give pleasure to our soul, to us. It gives pleasure to our senses and mind. It causes suffering later on, right? And then, therefore, Krishna in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna explains in the 3rd chapter, he says 3.22, ehi samsparsha ja bhoga dukkha yona evate adi antavanta kaunteya na teshu ramate buddha. He says that an intelligent person, Buddha, ramate buddha, Buddha means intelligent person. An intelligent person does not take part in the sources of misery, which are due to the contact with the material senses. We actually misunderstood the contact of senses as love, right? Sometimes we see that who gives us pleasure, who gives us pleasure to our senses, right? We think this is love. Actually, it is not love. It is lust. And therefore, Krishna says an intelligent person does not take part in the sources of misery. What is the sources of misery? Which are due to the contact of the material senses. Anything we become happy by contacting our senses with the dead matter is called lust, and it gives us misery. It will never give us happiness. O son of Kunti, such pleasures have a beginning and end, and so the wise man does not delight in them. So Krishna said the wise person who is very intelligent, he'd never delight with them. In which they never delight? In contacting the material senses and enjoying the happiness. They never delight in them, right? These are actually real problems of our life. Birth, death, old age and disease, right? This actually, when we leave the body, we call it death, and we take a new body, we call it birth. And simultaneously, when this body deteriorates, we call it old age. And then when this body is suffering from various contamination, it is called disease, right? These are the 4 definitions. And also simultaneously we suffer from threefold miseries of material nature. First one is adhyatmika klesha. Klesha means suffering. It's a Sanskrit term. Adhyatmic klesha means this is the misery caused by one's own body and mind. We are being suffering from this. This suffering is caused by the body and mind. And then adhibhautika klesha, misery is caused by other living entities. Then adhidaivika klesha, misery is caused by the nature, like earthquake and tsunami, all these things, right? So these 3 kleshas, these 3 sufferings continuously actually hamper our daily activities. We see every day we are being suffered by this, right? Among Lord Krishna says, among subduers I am time. Lord Sri Krishna in Bhagavad Gita, he says, right? I am the time in all subduers. The bodies of beauty queens, who in their youth make men go crazy, become dried up in old age, like grapes turned into raisins. Why can't the beauty of this world remain permanent? Actually, we are always attracted to the beauty, right? But this beauty is very temporary. It will never remain permanent, right? So it based on the kala, time. It becomes very, very crazy. So therefore we should care about the soul, which is actually caged within this body. Just as the bird is trapped in the cage, the soul is trapped in the body, made up of 5 elements: earth, water, fire, air, ether. Not knowing their real identity as soul, the people spend all their life in polishing the cage, pampering the body, without feeding the soul. It happens all the time. Why? Because we are all in ignorance, right? So that is the only cause. When the soul leaves the spiritual world and comes to the material world, he forgets his true identity as soul, right? And therefore he achieves this kind of body, and foolishly thinks himself to be the material body made up of flesh and bones, right? So this is how we are suffering. He becomes attracted to the glittering illusion of false beauty of the objects of material world. Actually, greed and lust for a material hankering. We always hankering after the matter, right? So that is the only cause of suffering. Material beauty is simply a poor imitation of the spiritual beauty. Where does the soul come from? The soul originally belongs to the spiritual world, and there are infinite souls who are eternal servants of the Supreme Lord in the spiritual world, right? Nitya Nityanam Chetanaschethananam Eka Bahunam Vidadhati Kaman. There are millions and trillions of living entities, but there is one living entity, God, who is supplying the necessities of all others. This is mentioned in the Katha Upanishad, right? So he is supplying everything to us, right? For our existence, air, water, food, everything. So why are we unable to take pleasure in matter? Because this is a very beautiful example. Just as the fish cannot happy only in the can be happy only in the waters, similarly the soul can be happy only in the spiritual world, not in the material world, with any amount of luxuries as comforts. Like any much fish is there, you bring it out from the water and you feed him rasgulla, gulab jamun, give him a lot of money, anything, good magazines, alcohol, he will never become happy. Why? Because he is out of the water. Similarly, we cannot also become happy with dead matters. We will remain only happy with spirit souls or spiritual world, right? When we are with our company, somebody is there, we become very happy, right? Alone we never become happy. Why? Because of this reason only. We can take pleasure only the spirit soul, with the spirit souls, right? So it's very important therefore, right? So then how can we become happy? All the senses are nourished by feeding the stomach. All the parts of the tree are nourished by the watering the root, right? The parts, fingers, can become happy only by serving the whole, that is stomach. The soul can become happy only by serving the Supreme Lord. This is the only way by which we can become happy. There is no other means. Because a tree is nourished only when we water the roots of the tree, right? and only by serving the stomach all our senses become happy, right? If they will go on strike, then they will become themselves weak. So when we serve the Supreme Lord, we will become happy, right? So we are like the lost sons of a millionaire father. So we have less time, so we'll go quickly. We have to revive our eternal relationship with the Father, God, to become truly happy, right? So there is a story I'll tell you, very beautiful story. Uh, the story of liquid beauty. Hmm. So there was a beautiful girl. Her name was Princess Sweetie. And one day one prince came and he saw this beautiful princess and he proposed there that I love you, I want to marry you. And this lady was very intelligent and she knew that he is not attracted to my behavior, my characteristic, or towards the eternal soul. So he is attracted to my bodily features. So she told, okay, you do one thing. After 7 days you come to me. After 7 days you come to me, come to my palace, and we'll discuss and we'll get married there also. So then this prince actually came, and exactly after 7 days. And when he came back and he asked many persons where I'll meet Princess Sweetie, where I'll meet Princess. So then he searched and people shown the path, go to that palace where the princess is staying. He arrived there and he saw a person, a lady who is actually sitting with a very thin, rotted, is very ugly looking. And when he reached, he asked that lady, where is Princess Sweetie? So that lady told, myself, Princess Sweetie. So he told, no, I met her. She was very beautiful, very beautiful. So then Princess told, what you are looking for, I have kept it there. You can come and see. So she has a big pots, and in one pot she has collected a lot of stools and urines, and in another pot she has collected some of her vomits, right? And she shown that this is your beauty, what you are looking for. Then this person became angry and he told, how, what you are joking with me? She told, no, I am not joking, it's real. Within 7 days, when I took the Laxavitz, and I took it, and after taking it I have loose motion, vomiting, everything, and all these bodily constituents I stored in these 2 pots. And after everything gone out from my body, you can see my body. This is my body. And you are actually looking for that beauty, right? Now this beauty is so-called liquid beauty, which is stool, urine and blood and pus, nothing else. So if you want to marry, you can marry this liquid beauty. So this is actually human values. We should not love the external beauty. That is lust. External beauty is actually we are actually when we are becoming attracted to the external beauty, we are attracted towards the dead matter, and this matter will nothing. This matter is actually nothing. It is just stool, urine, and blood and pus, nothing else. So the love is very difficult to describe, right? So unless we are in love with God, we cannot describe it. So beauty is not in the material body, which is just a bag of bones and flesh, but it is in the spirit soul, a part and parcel of the supremely attractive personality of Godhead Sri Krishna, right? So actually the love is with this spirit soul only. If we want to love somebody, we should love his eternal characteristic as the servant of Krishna, servant of God. Right? So therefore soul is special because it's eternal. Therefore we can love everyone. We can love the ants, we can love the every living entity, dogs, cats, trees, because everywhere the soul is present. Every living entity, the soul is present, and we can love them. But we are actually not, we are loving to the dead matter, the body, right, which gives the pleasure to our senses, which is also dead, right, dead senses, dull senses, right. So therefore this is not love, right. The harsh reality of the most cherished body, when the spirit soul leaves the so-called beautiful body, which in fact is full of stool and vomit, no one wants to touch the body, even if it is decorated with a costly costume, even if it happens to be the body of a most beautiful cinema star or a dear relative like husband or wife. Nobody wants to touch. Everybody wants to throw it away because it's now the dead matter, right? And we love that dead matter. When that is not love, that is actually we show our lust to the dead matter, right? So therefore everlasting relationship and the immemorial pastimes of Krishna with all the living entities, we understood from the Vedic literatures. This is actually love, right? What we can see, the love between Mother Yashoda and Krishna, the love between Krishna and his friends, love between Krishna and gopis, right? These are the immemorial loving relationship, and every living entity has a particular loving relationship with Krishna, with God. So therefore this relationship we have to find out. So therefore the goal of the material body is like temporary, spirit soul is permanent. Material body is filled with stool and vomit, spirit soul is Satchidananda. Material body is skin deep, illusory beauty. Soul and God have the true beauty. We must purify ourselves of 6 unearths, that is lust, pride, envy, anger, illusion, greed. We should glorify God with our hearts through chanting his holy names. If we do not serve God, we will serve the unearths like lust and pride, etc. So let us chant and be happy. Chant Hare Krishna and be happy. And finally, the founder Acharya of ISKCON, Srila Prabhupada says, we are giving Krishna consciousness, that is loving, real loving. We are giving him eternal life, eternal bliss, unless we love them. Why we are taking so much trouble? The preacher must love the people, otherwise why he is taking, he can do it for himself at home. Why he is taking so much trouble? Why in 80 years old I have come here if I don't love? So who can love better than a preacher? He loves even the animals. Therefore they are preaching, don't take meat. Do they love the animals? Rascals. They are eating and they love their country. That's all. Nobody loves. It is simply sense gratification. If somebody loves, he is Krishna conscious. That's all. So they are after their own sense gratification. They will put a signboard, I love everyone. This is their business. And fools are accepting, oh, this man is very philanthropic. He doesn't love any man. He loves only senses. That's all. The servant of the senses. That's all. So therefore, the conclusion is that we should not love our senses. Rather, we should love every living entities. That is very important concept here. So we'll stop here.